Crooked Joe and his Payday with the Biden family, they raked in millions and millions of dollars. You see what's going on. The news doesn't really report it, very little news reports it. But it was the men and women who got, every single day, they got up and came back home with grease on their hands, and they were the ones that paid the price. They paid a big, big price. The only time Joe Biden has ever gotten his hands dirty is when he's taking cash from foreign countries, which is quite often, actually. It's quite often. Based on what we're seeing, it's much more often than anyone would have thought. Can you imagine an unannounced raid on his many homes? He would have made Senator Menendez look like a baby. Just like a baby. Can you imagine? You know, they gave him 3 weeks' notice. You know, they said, we're going to raid your home over documents. They gave him 3 weeks. Would 3 weeks be enough? So I can imagine. I'd like to see what he cleaned out of there. Joe Biden only cares about enriching his own family. I care about enriching your family. That's why I did this. I'm working for you, not for me. That is for sure, and I always will. I will always have your back. I promise you that. I will always have your back. When I came into office, the auto industry was on its knees, gasping its last breaths after 8 long years of Obama and Biden. But you finally got a president who stood up to the... You got to understand, I stood up to people that hate you. They hate you. Or they maybe hate our country. But I stood up for you. I stood up for the auto workers and stood up for the great state of Michigan like nobody's ever stood up before. And just as I promised, I withdrew from the Trans-Pacific Partnership my very first victory. Remember 2016 when we won Michigan? Michigan hadn't been won in like decades. Never at all. And then we did much better in 2020. I mean, I hate to tell you, we did much better. But we're going to do so. We're going to swamp them. We're going to swamp them. We actually did much better. I ended Obama's war on American energy. He had a war on American energy. Gasoline prices plummeted and soon reached $1.87 a gallon. How does that sound? Now, you know, it's over $5 and $6 and even $7 a gallon in some places, and it's going up higher and higher and higher. And I think they want that. That way you go all electric, so you can drive for 15 minutes before you have to get a charge. The economy boomed. The household incomes rose by more than $6,000 a year, which was a record. $6,000 a year during my term. A year. I ended the disaster known as NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, Mexico, Canada. That's the best trade deal ever made, they say, in our country's history. I think the deal we made with China is even better, but unfortunately with COVID, I don't even talk about that one. But we made a lot of good deals with Japan, with South Korea, with many, many countries. We took bad deals and made them good deals. They were so bad, I used to ask my people, who made these deals? Why did they do it? Who made them? They were so bad, just on their face. With the USMCA, 75% of every car under that deal must be made in North America. In other words, they have to make 75% of the car in North America. Who ever heard of that? And a massive portion must be made by high-wage labor, which means American labor, high wage. Back in 2008, Biden and Obama promised you that they'd renegotiate NAFTA, but in 8 years, they never lifted a finger. They never changed a thing. You know, NAFTA was so bad that when it was negotiated, a long time ago, decades ago, they made typographical errors, like in numbers. And they were bad typographic. They were bad for us. Cost us what? Nobody went back to change them. They were typographical errors. And we lived with it for decades, with these errors. Can you imagine that? Normally, like, that happens. You do that in deals, too. And you go back the following day, say, they made a mistake. We're renegotiating this deal. I don't care if it's signed or not. And people sort of have to do that. Legally, they have to do that. If there's an error, if there's a typography. They made typographical errors. They made errors. Maybe they weren't so typographical. Probably the other side made them perfect, actually. You know, they probably made them. But they made these errors, and they never corrected them for years, for decades. But I corrected them. You know how I did it? By terminating it. Terminating it. And I know how good the USMCA deal is because Canada, as you know, and Mexico are trying like hell to renegotiate it. They want to renegotiate that deal. But in less than 2 years, I got that done, the USMCA and many other deals. I also renegotiated Obama's Korea trade deal to fully restore your protective tariff on foreign pickup trucks. They wanted to change it. The Democrats wanted it to expire, and so did South Korea badly. They didn't want it. And without that, you wouldn't even have a truck industry. Right now, it's probably the strongest part of your industry. Without that, you wouldn't have an industry. So it's something I was very proud to do. It was very, not easy, but we got it done, and we got it done properly. Michigan jobs would have been exported, while millions and millions of foreign cars would have flooded American streets. That's what would have happened. Obama and Biden didn't care one bit, but I did, and I stopped it, and I stopped it cold. I took on communist China like no administration in history did what I've done, bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury when no other president had gotten literally 10 cents. And I also got $28 billion for our great farmers. You know that, right? Our farmers. That's why I say, you think I'm going to do badly in Iowa or Nebraska, any of Wisconsin, any of our farm areas? I say, I don't want to be too cocky. I just got very good polls from all those ones. From everywhere. Be cocky, that's okay. But who else would have done that? $28 billion. I said to the Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, I said, Sonny, how bad have they treated us? $28 billion over a period of about 5 years. They said they're going to pay it back. And they paid it back. And perhaps my greatest unsung achievement, I kept Chinese cars the hell out of America. Is that okay? UAW, is that okay? And a lot of people don't know this, but I imposed a whopping 27.5% tariff and tax on all Chinese automobiles coming into our country. And this magnificent tariff, they can't get it off because they make so much money with it. And by the way, if they took it off, you'd be out of business right away. They want to take it off, they're trying to take it off, but it's so good, it's so powerful, it's so strong, but they would take over your industry totally. But it remains in place to this day, not because they wanted to, but because they sort of have no choice. And it's no exaggeration to state that the Trump presidency and the deftly used and applied Trump tariffs and taxes saved the American auto industry from extinction time and time again. And we're going to do a version of it that's going to make you bigger and better and stronger. It's not even going to be a contest with where you are right now. But crooked Joe Biden is back like a wretched old vulture trying to finish off his prey. Can you believe it? I don't know. I just don't know. I see some of these things that are happening. I say, I wonder if he has any idea that this stuff is happening. Biden's job-killing EV mandate has dictated that nearly 70% of all cars sold in the United States must be fully electric less than 10 years from now. Do you believe that? These are built specifically for people that want to take very short trips, okay? Hop in the car, darling, let's drive down to the store and let's drive back. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy, They say the happiest day when you buy an electric car is the first 10 minutes you're driving it. And then after that, panic sets in because you're worried, where the hell am I going to get a charge to keep this thing on?